Hello. This video is mainly just an update on what's gone on over the past week. I don't know whether some of you saw the stream, but I've been running LN2 on both socket 775 and AMD Ryzen. Mainly the 1800X. I didn't get a chance to do the 1500X, unfortunately. But I did modify my pot. I drilled some new holes in both this top piece here. You can see these are the AM3 holes, and then next to it are the AM4 holes. So I've drilled some new holes in the top, and I drilled some new holes in the bottom of my pot to make sure it fitted AM4 just before I went on Tuesday night. So scores wise, I've got some up on the screen here. I still don't have a capture card, so you're going to have to bear with me a second. So for Division 4, which is the Ryzen 7 1800X, Stage 1, unfortunately I am still in the 7th position down there, and that score, I didn't manage to run 32M again at higher speed, so that's still at only 4.2 GHz, which I got on air cooling. So we didn't do any improvement there, which was a bit of a shame. Now for Stage 2, I managed to run Cinebench R15 on LN2, so we've got a much better score in that now. I think my previous best score was 1877, and we're now sitting at 2160, which puts us in 4th place. It's not the best score ever, but I was pretty pleased that I managed to get a decent score like that. We got 2160 at 4.8 GHz. The thing is as well, the memory speed is actually lower when you're running on LN2, because as you can see there, 2666 was my limit on the memory instead of my usual 3200, because as the CPU goes down in temperature, the memory controller has this weird like mini cold bug where it sort of doesn't work past a certain temperature. But anyway, we managed to do that at about 1.7 volts. I'm not 100% sure what the voltage would be in the BIOS, but it was around 1.7 volts, 4.8 GHz. You can see there I did quite a few runs and built up to it. So saving each score. I did actually get a 2197 as well, but unfortunately it crashed taking the screenshot. Well, it froze up actually. I've got a picture of the 2197 on my phone, but unfortunately that won't be valid for hardware bot. So 3D Mark Vantage. Now I had a go at this the other day, and unfortunately there was a weird bug where the CPU test would crash on CPU test 2 no matter what speed I ran it at on LN2. It was really weird, but I'm still in the 3rd position for this benchmark anyway, and that was just on air cooling with my R9 Fury, so that's not too great of a loss, but I could have probably got 1st quite easily if I'd managed to get the CPU to work at like 4.6, 4.7 or above. So Stage 4, I did manage to get a quick run in the other day. Unfortunately it wasn't as high as I like. Again, I was kind of hoping for like 5,300, maybe 5,400-ish. But I only got 5,224 at 4.7, which still puts us in 1st. However, I think I could have done a lot better. I did try my mate's Crosshair Hero, and unfortunately that wasn't working too well. Couldn't really get into Windows very often on the LN2, and so I was using my Prime Pro for most of these, and unfortunately, because it doesn't have PLL control for the PLL voltage for the CPU, I kept getting stuck at about -120 to -130 depending on the benchmark. so I could only go to minus 130 degrees, so I couldn't go full pot and get the full scaling. So stage 5 time SPI, I've not entered that. So the other thing I benched while I was there was socket 775, which I haven't got with me at the moment. I tried to look at both this is for Division 7. So I was trying to get both my SuperPi 32M score up, which was stage 1, stage 2 and stage 5. Excuse me. So I was trying to get those scores up. I brought my E8500 to do this, but unfortunately I didn't manage to get a better score on that. However, I did have a good run with my QX 9650, I think it is. So when the page manages to load here, it'll say what score I got in Cinebench 2003. So there we go. I managed to get 3,377, which isn't great for the speed that I was running at, but it's still a very high score. You can see there, I managed to get to 5.6 gigahertz, just over 5.6 actually, which is an 87% overclock. And this was with nearly 2 volts running through the CPU, as you can see there. I was running minus 100 and I think about minus 110. So it would go down to minus 120 or minus 130, but unfortunately it kept getting this weird cold slow thing where it crashed right at the end. So there's a bit of a picture of it. For any of you who didn't see the stream, there was a lot of ice around this pot. This isn't actually my pot there, because mine's a DeBauer Fusion 3, and this was one of my mate's pots. So this is a SF3D pot, which you can't buy anymore. So the other thing we did was stage 5, which is W prime 124M. I managed to get first in that again. Now this is only for now, there's still 28 days of the competition left, so someone will probably come along and beat me, but for now I'm first. I'm pretty pleased with my score I got as well. So I'm beating the guy in second by a fair bit, but he's a lot slower speed than I am. So again, 5.622 gigahertz, 87% overclock. Pretty nice score, very high voltage. Managed to keep my RAM at a decently high speed as well, even though I was running pretty quick. And this was on the P5Q Deluxe, not the P5QE. I was testing the E8500 on the P5QE and the quad core on the Deluxe. Now unfortunately I could have got a score about 10 to 12 seconds better. Unfortunately Core 3 finished at 219 seconds, but Core, I think the other last core finished at about 208 seconds or something. So that could have been a little better, but unfortunately Core 3 was a little bit slow. So I think that's about it competition wise. So I've just got my page up here, because I did run quite a few other benchmarks on both the Core 2 Quad and the Ryzen chip while I was there. So like for example in W prime 32M, that's with my Core 2 Duo. So I did manage to get a score with that on LN2. It was higher than I got on Phase. So I managed to get it 5.9 instead of 5.8, which isn't a great increase, but for some reason this chip didn't scale too well with LN2, even though it was running minus 140. Still a very respectable score, 15th out of 317. I've got a few more pictures on here. You can see the screenshot there. I was only running about 1.725 volts, and then plus load line calibration bringing it up to nearly 1.8. So you can see there, again I was using the SF3D pot, which builds up a lot of ice around the top, which is interesting. So that was a pretty good score, 22 hardware points. What else do we have here? Pretty sure I got a decent SuperPi 1M there with the Ryzen. That's second currently. That was at just nearly 5.1 gigahertz. This is pretty much the fastest I got my Ryzen processor to run at. I think I might have got a CPU Z validation as well, although I'm not 100% sure. But that was at over 5 gigahertz right there. Just bring it up. Yeah. Unfortunately my CPU Z validation was under 5 gigahertz, which is a bit annoying. But again, I was on my Asus X370 Pro, so I wasn't able to keep the temperatures down to full pot level, and I was only running my inner insulation as well on the pot for that run. And you can see I'm running the Galax Hall of Fame memory there, which unfortunately wasn't fully utilised at that point, so that was a bit sad. Managed to get 20 points. No, that was not on LN2, so I think that was about it LN2 wise. 32M and W prime, didn't manage to get those scores on LN2 unfortunately. So other interesting things we did, benched a GTX 1080 Ti, which I've actually got some other scores up. This was one that Zotac sent over to my mate to review, so it wasn't a great card to be honest, but there it is with a on an Asus Apex as well. That wasn't too exciting, but it is good for global points. Now the most exciting thing for me was this Core 2 Quad Extreme, definitely. I mean, I got some decent scores with that there. You can see W prime 32M got 20 hardware points, 6.879 seconds. We also got first place in Cinebench at 612, which is really high for a Core 2 Quad. That was a really nice score, was that. I was very pleased. Just under 5.6 gigahertz. And that is first place by a decent margin, I'd say, as well. I did get 600 at one point, which was slightly lower just before I got this score, and I was very pleased with that, because that was kind of my target. And then I got 6.82 in 11.5. Again, just 5.6 gigahertz, a little bit more voltage on that one. That was a pretty nice score. I think that was that first or second? Yeah, that was first as well, by again a fairly decent margin there. So hopefully these scores could last a while. I did manage to get 5.7 validated, which isn't amazing. I was using the normal validation, not an extreme validation, so that puts me in 49th on that one, which isn't brilliant. 12.5 points, not going to complain. W prime 124M, and that was for the competition. What else did we do? SuperPi 1M, we must have run that quickly. Nearly 5.7 gigahertz. That was the fastest benchmark I actually ran in terms of frequency anyway. I didn't disable any cores. I'm not sure if you can disable cores on Core 2 quads, but yeah, 8.268 seconds, and that was on Windows 7, so that's not too bad. 60 of 15 points. And then that score there was the last score I got on Ryzen. Again, for the competition, not a great score. I wasn't amazingly pleased with that, to be honest. I think that is about it for scores wise on the LN2 bench session. I know that Buildzoid did a stream with his 1070 as well, which unfortunately I missed, because obviously I was benching at the time. So yeah, that's put me up in the rankings quite a bit. Got a lot of globals. a lot of decent hardware points there. So now, to end the video, I've got a bit of a bonus here. I'm going to stick you on the tripod and do a bit of an unboxing of something that's come in the post. So hopefully you can see what's going on okay there. This is obviously from Amazon. I haven't opened it yet. All I've done is take my address off. This will probably be, let's have a look here. There it is. That's what we were after. So this is my Ryzen 5, but this one is a 1606 core for Division 6, I think it is, because unfortunately they put both the Ryzen 5 1600X and 1600 in with a 1500 on hardware bot, so I've had to go and buy a 6 core so I can keep up. And there it is, if it can focus on that, please. There we go. Very nice. Ryzen 1600. Comes with a cooler, unlike 1600X. These are pretty cheap on Amazon as well, so that is good. And it comes with a cooler as well, which is pretty nice. So unfortunately, the 1600X costs about £50 more and doesn't even come with a cooler, which is fairly ridiculous if you ask me. So I just got a 1600 instead. Under £200 for a 6-core processor. I'll unbox the stock cooler as well, even though I'm probably never going to use it. But for anyone interested, there it is. It's got a copper slug in the middle, some thermal paste, which is probably pretty bad. This one doesn't have RGB LEDs, but it is the thicker cooler rather than the smaller one like you get with a 1400. I think this is actually the same one that you get with a 1500X, to be fair. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Hopefully the next stream or video that I'll do will be testing this 1600X for the competition. See if it can beat my Ryzen 5 1500. And yeah, that'll be it for this one. I would recommend, if you're interested, going back and watching the stream. It wasn't the best stream ever, I'll admit, but you can see me getting some decent scores on 775, possibly Ryzen. I can't remember exactly how much of that day we streamed, but it was a fair bit. So anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one, I suppose.